Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. My name is Bonafide Rojas, and thank you for coming to Observations on a City Bench. I want to give a thanks to the Brooklyn Public Library, and we're going to begin with some poems. Some new, some old, some you know, some you probably don't know. This one is called My Mother Was an Island. Today, I am not an island the way they say men are. My mother was an island. I am a boat in the ocean. The island has been swept away by the tsunami of time. When it came, I was anchored on the shores, but that got taken too. I am not a pretty boat or even a strong boat, but I still float, and for that, I am grateful, because what is a boat that cannot float but a broken body being succumbed by the environment it is in? What is a boat but a pile of ideas put together to get you to the end? I am in the middle of this ocean, and I notice how the sky rarely separates itself from it unless there is a storm. And I'm always grateful for the storm, for letting me know the difference, for breaking the monotony of wandering aimlessly. What is a destination without a plan? Just a slow motion to the eventual stopping and knowing it's time to rest. Then you look around and say, wow, look at that view. It's something, isn't it? Thank you. This is called 30 Ways of Looking at a Nuyorican. 1. I do not wake up to roosters. I wake up to construction sites or exhaling buses. I really want to say, I do not wake up to Chris's. I wake up to roosters, and neither one of them are in my neighborhood. He doesn't like New York, so it's like kind of fucked up. Okay. That's good. I'm stupid. This is exactly, if I'm in San Antonio, I'm gonna have the worst inside jokes with you. You know, like this. Okay. This is called 30 Ways of Looking at a Nuyorican. 1. I do not wake up to roosters. I wake up to construction sites and exhaling buses. 2. English was fed to me by my television babysitter. 3. I barely know what oceans look like. Orchard Beach and Brighton Beach do not count. 4. I know how to grow culture, but I don't know how to grow food. I buy rice in bags, beans in cans, and piraguas in Union Square. 5. My skin is pale, my cousin's skin is black. We are called white boy and negro at the same time at the same table. 6. I do not know how to hotwire a car. I don't even know how to drive. 7. I have a fear of needles, so being a junkie is out. But being a thief, sometimes. 8. I have a library of dead heroes that I have stolen. 9. As I remember it, I've been called Jewish more times after I turned 21 for whatever reason. I'm mad Puerto Rican. 10. I do not believe in haircuts until I cut my hair again. 11. When riding the train, everyone can be Nuyorican, but most are New Yorkers. 12. I always get lost in Queens. 13. I walked into a riot once and immediately walked out. 14. Excelsior. 15. My son and I watch cartoons all day. 17. People make fun of me for not knowing how to drive. Then they visit New York City and completely understand why. 19. Police have stopped me for looking too out of place. I was standing in front of my building of 40 years. 20. One in London searching for a Puerto Rican flag is trying to find a needle in a brick wall. 21. Spanish does not make you Nuyorican. English does not make you Nuyorican. 22. Nuyorican dance in their sleep. 23. Pedro, Papoleto, Miguel, Sandra, Luis, Jorge, Tato, and Bimbo walk into a bar and perform magic. Perform beautiful magic. 24. My obituary is not written yet. 25. When I returned to Puerto Rico, everyone stared at me when I spoke. I think it was my New York accent. 26. Nuyorican look like everyone. Nuyorican look like no one. 27. My son was born in Chicago, lived in Harlem, moved to Detroit. Is Puerto Rican and Irish, but I keep his heart in the Bronx. 28. I am like every Puerto Rican you know. I'm not like any Puerto Rican you know. 29. In the middle of the bandera is the heart of a Nuyorican, Ax Betances. 30. El Morro is more famous than the Empire State Building. 30. A Nuyorican and a Puerto Rican walk into a bar and they both ask for Cuba Libre. 30. Patria, sangre, libertad. Thank you. Normally there's like an audience, like people clapping, but it's virtual, right? So I have a 17-year-old son, and there was a point where I always wanted to make my son the protagonist in these poems and see what I can get him into in terms of like some weird surrealist adventure. And so this is one of them. This poem is called John Pablo Rojas is a Comet crashing out the sky. Among the dead flocks of birds shaped in V formation at Grand Army Plaza, atop of the weeds and the concrete, and the text messages in the South Bronx, beneath the streets, beneath Woodlawn Cemetery, beneath the pigeons, beneath the skyscraping towers of capitalism, he came crashing out the sky. Farther down among forgotten demigods, formerly elected officials, and washed up rookie baseball players staring into the black, beyond the street and block, beyond bridge and river, beyond the borough and island, beyond cause and effect over genocide and gangbanging, corruption and city officials, consumption and consumerisms, underdeveloped communities, malnourished imaginations, corporate gentrification versus community salvation, next to safe deposit banks of safety depending pockets of the poor, next to dilapidated condos of their tiny dreams, the trust funded educations, the greed dripping from their mouths. Everyone's trying to leave their immortality in my brain, inside the Centrally Park Cemetery, in the middle of my skull, among the activists with the blindfolds on, in the man-made cities in the sky with their man-made titles of world domination. They chop our hands off, they chop our heads off, they buy our body parts, they think everything is for sale in the packed streets of Times Square, in the rush hour traffic, in the corrupt police precincts, in the overcrowded jails, in the racist American court system with the organizers, the activists, the drummers, the poets, the painters, the dancers, the rioters, the musicians, the migration, the lawyers, the strap hangers, the running lost, the mothers of dead children, the orphan children, the wind from the Gulf of Mexico reminding us the memory of South America. You'll see these ships with names of dead generals on it, and we're supposed to be happy when they say they come in peace and the ocean is dead still. And all that I carry is a briefcase for possibility. With my heart, my fears, I count the stars, I count the planets, the universe is beautifully black. I see the moon being master and servant. I see 6 sea serpents and 6 black hawks looking like shadows. And then he crashed out the sky with nothing. No name, no breath, no voice, naked, hoping to come home to a better world, to a better me. And when he arrived, he was so beautiful. Thank you. His next poem is kind of new. Hey, new stuff. It's called The Rickety Boat, Part 3. Working title. I am standing on the lake, trying to find land. I am a rickety boat, wandering aimlessly. This is how I am feeling. I have lost control of the steering. The waters are rough. My mainsail is loose and my hull is broken. I am shipwrecked. I push myself out to sea every day, hoping to find a the great wave, to ask it the great question, where am I heading? Where have I been? Are you the destination or are you the journey? When this life ends, will I just be another rickety boat held together with duct tape and hope, hoping you call my name from shore? But I am not a boat. I whisper off the cliff, staring at the ocean. Boats can wander with the help of motor and wind. I am a lighthouse, looking at the clouds, hoping the North Star helps me get home if I ever decide to run towards the horizon. This world is not never ending. If I leave tomorrow, I'll be back at the same spot one day soon. I carry a journal, write my coordinates so I know where I have been. It rained yesterday, smearing all the ink, and that's okay. The memories, the dreams, and the words, they last forever. I carve a word into every piece of wood I come across, be it boat, dock, or house. I carve my name in it, hoping you see it one day and yell it out when you see me coming around the bend, duct tape and all, saying I found my way home. Thank you. So I have a series of poems called The Adventures of Lefty and The Adventures of Fela. And those are my parents who both passed away. And this is one of the poems in the Lefty series. And it's called Miguel and the Ocean. I pour my father's ashes into the ocean I am drowning in. I feel the thunder shake me alive. Awoken from the infinite deep, it's the closest we've been in years. I was saved because a hurricane pushed me to shore, a face full of sand and apologies to my father who I avoided like raindrops, and now I'm here drenched. And I stare at the sky and see his evaporated ashes become rain. I feel his downpour. I feel the anguish of a bad hand dealt. I stand in the rain, fully accepting and holding myself accountable for my decisions with him. I walk to a puente de San Dulce that crosses into Rio Piedras, and I see him running across the street, chasing elegies and gathering scars like currency. I see his blood on the corners of these makeshift houses with metal roofs that sing when it rains. It does not wash his blood away. I see his face in a cloud that's been following me. I know it's him. I write his name Miguel at the foot of the bridge, and a little boy walks up to me. And he looked like us when we were little boys. And he asks, ¿Quién fue Miguel? And I tell him, él fue un hombre hermoso, un hombre brillante, pero que tuvo una vida dura. And he puts his hand on my shoulder and says, Mira, una cara en la nube. Yesterday, I was in Puerto Rico, and I left my father there. So this next poem is called The Amazing Day. This is the day we rise up in the morning, full of wonder, staring at the sun, grateful for the dreams of the night before, still intact like a crystallized spider web. We heard no gunshots last night. We heard no screams. And the mirror showed us an older version of ourselves. This is the day nothing breaks. Nothing will break on us, not our hearts, our lives, our family, our bodies, our homes, our children will grow from every scratch, fall, slip, with no genetically modified assistance, no corporate sponsorship, no breaks, split, rift, rupture, fracture, tear, but only cures, revivals, renovations, reinventions, renewals, and regenerations. We will be full of miracles, no heart attacks, no diseases, no Alzheimer's, no HIV, no smallpox, no STDs, no diabetes, no influenza, no chemical labs of destruction, no pharmaceutical businesses profiting off our sickness, because there will be no sick. This is the day no one gets shot or killed. We'll be bulletproof, foolproof, and celebrated like a shining Saturday night. We'll grow flowers from our palms, find pens that never run out of ink. Hear our enemies say they love us. All the trains and buses will be on time. Don't worry about your bills. There will be no bills, and our bank accounts will be sexy. This is the day that being optimistic is not looked at as strange, not looked at as delusion, but necessary as breath, like a paid lunch break. Poetry will be fed to everyone like with pan y café, and art will be cultivated by everyone, even by people who don't enjoy it but understand the need for it. This is the day we create new harmonies for the new songs, for our new skin with new eyes so that we can be seen new too. We'll become independent of any government or doctrine. We'll destroy all the jails, build more schools, more gardens. We'll plant so many flowers. We'll tear down all the empty condos and skyscrapers, build theaters in their place, build homes to love in, reclaim these lands in the name of the people. We'll free the people, rehabilitate the concept of freedom, and rescue those who have trouble understanding themselves. It'll be fantastic. This is the day there'll be no policing of our bodies. We can be anyone we pick and choose. These dreams of our own making with no judgment, no stigma. We can love and be with anyone, no supremacy of any kind, no hatred, no racism, no bigotry, no sexism, no homophobia, no transphobia, no banks, no capitalism, no Republicans, Democrats, politicians, presidents, dictators, monarchs, or gods. This is the day we forgive our loved ones for not being our loved ones. We wash our hands free of their selfishness and accept them and accept ourselves because of our flaws. We are flawed immensely and pure visions of joy. This is the day no one goes hungry here. There'll be no gluttony, no starvation, no commercials about feeding a child, no throwing food out if not purchased. Water is free, air is free, food is free, love is free. This is the day we become more human, more humble with ourselves, use our imaginations for beautiful moments. We'll discover how our emotions work and how we should hold ourselves more accountable and give ourselves time to understand how our love changes us every time, and we'll be grateful that we made it this far. This is the day we'll explore every inch of the world, travel the universe, and see how everything is connected and how we were wrong about everything. How we are a microcosm of a microcosm of a microcosm. And we'll restructure our egos. For it made us think that we were center of the universe when we were so far left, light years from the center, that we'll feel foolish, but yet with no shame, for being a part of the universe is nothing to be ashamed about. This is the night we lay down in the evening, full of wonder, staring at the moon, grateful for the day. The spider web is still intact and crystallized, and we heard no gunshots, and we heard no screams. And the mirror showed us an older version of ourselves, and we found it amazing. We found it so, so amazing. Thank you. So, like any good son, if I read a poem from my father, I'm going to read one from my mother that's like directly about her, because they end up being subject matter a lot of the times. The Adventures of Fela. This is called La Bata. And bata means dress in Spanish, which you would have figured it out because you're a smart audience. I know you guys are listening. My mom's old house bata has more history than her entire closet. Each spot and stain is a memory, is a story, but it's not really a bata. It's like a really long shirt. But for the sake of not upsetting her, we'll call it a bata. On the front, it has the words of her hometown, Huanica, written on the back of the shirt, or the bata. Is a drawing of a random corner in the town. And I ask her where it was. And she looks at me and says, how do I know? I go, well, you live there. She goes, déjame ya. It looks fake. Later that night, We are rummaging through my closet, and I counted 77 shirts in my possession, mostly button-ups. She said I should throw them out. I tell her no. She says I should give some away. I go, I tell her, why don't you give away your 80s wardrobe? And she looks at me and goes, you crazy. As if I didn't pay for these priceless shirts. I go, you mean the ones that will eventually become batas? Mira, cállate la boca ya, puñeta. They're mine. That's what she says. My mom's old house bata has so many stories, so many melodies, everything from Elvis Presley to Ismael Rivera. She tells me these little anecdotes that I think she's making up the spot. You know I saved your father in this bata. I go, oh, saved him from what? I don't remember, but that's not the point. So if she could stay in her bata all day and it would be socially acceptable, she would. And my mom's not an old-fashioned lady. She was very postmodern, but she developed old-fashioned lady tendencies, and I'm okay with that. My mom's old house bata is older than me, and I'm happy she hasn't thrown either one of us away. Thank you. This poem is called TCK, or Typical City Kids. And with our feet tired and worn from painting the streets like a pack of wild wolves, we observe the chaos that we try to prevent. Writing on these walls with bright white and apocalyptic black, we are scarred and beautiful. And we write our brother's name in memorial. Distance is never an issue. We see the sunrise in Battery Park, walk up Broadway and watch the sunset at Fort Tryon. We tighten up when we hear the sirens, we stare at the cop car. It's a game of truth or dare. Who flinches first? Who curses first? In these late hours of possibility, we could get our jaw broken or our life taken during a house party broken up by a coward hiding behind a badge. This granite and concrete that we have built from the ground up has our fingerprints all over it, and with these hands we created purpose and hope in the face of despair, told our stories on the block, at the party, on the microphone, created a new tradition, reinvented ourselves with names like Burke, Vaz, Dage, Siege, Doves, Smirk, Bazaar, and Reels. A set of typical city kids. We lived in a city that left us to die, and were mad when we didn't. And these hoods, they thought it would kill us. But instead, we multiplied by the hundreds, developed a hard rock spirit of survival because we know concrete and cinder block. Whole generations ran to the suburbs and traded a skyline for cookie cutter towns, and now they help their kids buy their experience back into the city they left for dead. And they found out that us, the undesirables, the delinquents, made this city so beautiful. And then now the boroughs are being sold to every corporation, transforming New York City into an outdoor mall. And it won't make it beautiful. It just makes the city more sterile than it is now. And we created beautiful things from the murk, mud, crack, and liquor, transformed it into rhythm, art, and dance, and everyone wants a piece of it. We resurrected ourselves, lost a lot of people along the way, and we're still here, still wandering until we find meaning, still hiding in the shadows to save ourselves because we've been killed in broad daylight. So we defend the Bronx, defend Manhattan, defend Brooklyn, defend Uptown, defend Queens, and defend Staten Island, which was completely forgotten until it became the slums of Shaolin. And we grew up too fast. Stole our childhood back. Didn't know how to be adults. We learned that this city, you won't grow old gracefully. We rendezvous on corners and intersections where the names have been changed. Our body language will tell you everything. We keep our tongue sharp and our wits quit. And while invaders move in, we sabotage the dreams they're trying to live. It's all dead inside. like every new condo they've built. And we observe the chaos that we try to prevent, and we write our brother's name in memorial. Thank you. I'm gonna stay on the topic of New York City because I love New York City, and this is part of a bigger series of like wandering around New York poems, which is what most New Yorkers should do. Let me wander through these streets as if they were new to me, to find old and new jewels, buildings older than your practices, have a new fresh coat of paint and repackaged as a trend. Look for the places where you once saw your friends, where you once met your lovers. Yes, I know this is not the city I was raised in by architectural standards, but the street names are mostly the same. Yes, that one corner I occupied as an 18-year-old means not as much to me anymore, but that memory looms large. At this one particular spot, to see if I can live forever, at least right there, I stare at that for hours on end. There are still streets where I've never walked through, deep in Chinatown, Forest Hills, or past the last stop on the 2 train in Brooklyn. And that's why I love when New York City gets warmer, because I get to explore again. Take ridiculously long train rides just to look around and see if I can find a spot I once heard of in a conversation 10 years ago. Or go to a familiar place where they look like me, like they kind of remember me, and I'll take that over someone who can't tell a local over a visitor any day. I see groups of teenagers wandering around the city, and I remember how I basically grew up on Broadway from 8th Street to Houston. Not Houston, Houston. How I knew someone in every store of that strip, how I never walked on the NYU side, how we stayed in front of McDonald's or Wendy's and never ate their food, how I once bumped into Zach De La Roca from Rage Against the Machine on Bond Street and Broadway. And he said, "What's up?" And I was slightly starstruck. And I vowed to never act like that again. That's what separates New York City versus most cities, is the way we walk all over this town. And how I took that mindset everywhere, whether it's a 10-mile walk in LA or London or Paris or San Juan, because the beauty of it all is constantly wandering around and then finally finding a spot, a nice bench where I can sit down and say, okay, this is my spot right here, and always return to it whenever I want. I have one of those in every city, but in New York City, there are too many to choose from, so I keep them all. Thank you. This is called Goodbye to the Coffin. Goodbye to the coffin I have carried since I was a child. At the expiration of my breath, I will dig my grave with my hands. Into this warm, beautiful earth, I will pick a place of my desire, a place of desire for my death. One where I will have stories ready to read when the sun sets, and all of this is a symbol of celebration. And I'll shed the tears for the non-conceived dreams, the unaccomplished goals, the incomplete adventures, the eternal regrets, the unspoken apologies, the forgotten goodbyes, the infinite hello to all my loves, the shared bread with my son, the cities never seen, the poem I never finished, and the songs I never found a chorus for. And those tears will be melodic, just as this whole life has been. An epic poem I started writing 17 years too late, or exactly right on time. And I'm standing here, staring at the sunset, and today won't be my last, so I watch it in New York City, in San Francisco, in Chicago, in London, in San Juan, in Havana, in Barcelona. But my favorite is always by my building, The one I was raised in above the Cross Bronx Expressway, where I can see the whole sky, a magical orange hue, stretching miles on miles. It's so beautiful that I can see it here at this spot, at this moment. This is neither the last day nor the first. It is another day in the life, a page in the story, a song from my book. I may never finish these endeavors, because is a writer, a musician, or an artist ever really finished? Or do we just decide to stop trying? So goodbye to this coffin that I've been carrying since my youth, and let me expand across this great planet like the stardust I once was many moons ago, like the cloud I once was many storms ago, like the tree I once was many springs ago, like the wave I once was many oceans ago, like the melody I once was many songs ago, like the words I once was many poems ago, like the sun I once was a mother ago. Thank you. So this is a poem in a book I have called Notes on a Return to the Island. And it is called The Last Day. And if you're looking for a writing prompt somewhere in this, grand exposition of poetry, this will be the one. If I wanted you to write a poem about the last 24 hours of your life, you knew tomorrow you're gonna go, but you wanted to write one last poem, what would it sound like? I'm not saying mine will sound like this, but at least I have a template. It's called The Last Day. The last day will be a glorious one, filled with things I love, like laugh with my son, read my favorite poems, listen to music the whole day, dance with my mother who's not here anymore, but she hated dancing, tell my sister I love her, that I'm proud of her, call everyone I've cared for, thank them for the years of friendship. I tell people on the street that they are beautiful, and to tell them that compliment is free. Nothing in New York is free. I ride a train, ride a bike, ride a boat, go to the tallest building, scream something beautiful like I love you, and maybe someone will respond. I'll fight for my independence, paint murals of my heroes across my heart. Betances, Neruda, Albizu, Che, King, Kahlo, Dali, Miro, Miles, Malcolm, Lorca, de Burgos, Nin, Lenin, Hendrix, Bolivar, Mati, Ostos, Toussaint, Zapata, Zappa, Baraka, Ginsberg, Jaco, Coltrane, Cobain, Basquiat, and Garcia Marquez. And I thank them for their art, and I learned how to live on my feet and fly in my dreams, and only kneel when I feel thankful. And I talk to the universe when I feel like no one's listening. I say something like, I would like something nice in my life. And I apologize to those I should apologize to. The rest I learned that they're still not worthy. I speak to my father who's been deceased for years. It's not the first time I've done this, but I tell him about my trips to Puerto Rico and how the Yankees haven't won a World Series since 2009. Heartbreaking. And how I think he would have been proud of me. And I'll go to all the corners that are catalysts of my life, and I remember and reenact them. And I see these young versions of myself, wild, stupid, rambunctious, ego-driven, hyper-sugared, up all night, graffiti sprayed and Broadway made. And I write my name in honor of the past, and I tell those moments, thank you for existing, for being a building block for right now. And I think of all the cities and countries I visited. Puerto Rico, Havana, London, Paris, Amsterdam, Barcelona, Brussels, LA, Toronto, DC, Versailles, Chicago, San Diego, Montreal, Oakland, Albuquerque, St. Thomas, St. John, Tortola, Virgin Gorda, Rotterdam, Manchester, Boston, Berlin, Rome, Miami, and San Francisco. Then I visit all the houses my son has lived in, and I thank them for keeping him safe. Then I take a walk around the city that I love and hate, but the one that raised me. I eat pizza from Patsy's in Spanish Harlem, drink a nice drink from Archer and Goat in Harlem. Then I go home to the only place I've ever considered home, on the Grand Concourse, With a memory in every splice of hardwood floor, I bring down the paintings, I pack up the books, I clean the living room, and I open up this old black chest that has almost all the journals I've ever written in. And I take them out, and I see how erratic my handwriting was. Someone said it looks like a sociopath's handwriting, but I've never believed in a diagnosis given by a doctor who was paid by Medicaid. Then I read the first poem I wrote. It was called Life. And I read it to myself. And I see how ironic it was that this 17-year-old was trying to tackle something so massive as life. But I don't blame him. He had nothing then. He probably thought he would never achieve anything, go anyone, be anyone, love anything, love anyone, or be loved. And I see the progression through the years. And I go to my bedroom window, the one that my son and I have both looked out of. And I look at the big sky over the abandoned church across the street. And I watch the sunset. And if today is my last day, I'll say, damn, I was a lucky bastard, wasn't I? Thank you. You know I've actually mentioned this a couple times already about these neighborhoods that I've lived in or like hung out at. This is called Lament on Houston and Broadway. Yesterday was your last day, beautiful. Your last day overseeing the intersection, interlocking and intertwining flesh and machinery on Houston and Broadway. You stood tall, like an oracle, juxtaposed with a geographic display of New York, the one you loved and defended so much. No one comes to Ellis Island anymore, but here you are, on the division of NoHo and Soho, welcoming waves of tourists who want pieces of legends to frame in their house. You were the lighthouse we used in our youth, a common ground to break bread, break names, and break art on the corners of your crown. You always stared towards the Lower East Side, where your eyes met Lenin at Red Square on Avenue A, both arms extended to touch fingertips, ideologies. Remember the gas station on the corner? Yesterday was your last day, beautiful. And I was not there to say goodbye. Neither was my extended family of delinquents, artists, and madmen who grew up on the corners of Bond, Bleecker, and Astor Place. We took you for granted, thinking you were always going to be there, watching our walks, guiding our hands, welcoming us from north, south, east, west. But capitalism has covered your body with a new coat of disrespect, writing a name that represents nothing of the city over your face. And old New York always will love you, will remember you in the stories we tell on bonfires, where we now reside in, will speak of you like myth. Yesterday was your last day, beautiful, and the vendor saw me staring at where you once stood. He said that when you went out, you went with your head high. He said, she looked glorious. Thank you. This will be the last poem of the program. Thank you for coming by and sitting with me on my city bench. I know it looks rather tidy to be a city bench, but it's okay. This is a poem called The Most Beautiful Day, and I just want you and everyone who listens to this to take this with you and to be thankful for everything that we have. The most beautiful day. Praise your voice and the ears that listen to you. Praise the mornings where we woke another day. Praise the beds you sleep in, they should not be ignored. Praise the walls that hopefully keep you safe, if not right on them. Praise the food that is in your kitchen and the love that it is made with. Praise the books you own. Praise the gasoline of your life. Praise every smile you collect today. Praise every compliment given to you. Praise your mother, for her love and flaws. Praise your father for his flaws and love. Praise the birth of every conversation. Praise the oceans, the rivers, the lakes, and the streams for not bottled water. Praise the trains and planes for our escape. Praise the sun and moon for the eternal dance. Praise poetry for its life-saving ability. Praise every piece of currency ever held in your hand, but not capitalism. Praise the faith that you are searching for. Praise the days when we share space. Praise your environment, for you are a product. Praise for the sangria that flows in our blood. Praise the music we make love to. Praise the moments we keep to ourselves, they are ours. Praise for the skyline of our bodies, the tunnels of our bones. Praise the silence of sleep, the science of dreams. Praise the beauty of hellos. Praise the optimism of goodbyes. Praise for reaching the miracle age of myth. Praise for fatherhood. Praise my son for being the greatest boy ever and the hope that he gives me. Praise my family, my friends, my peers, and my mentors. Praise my enemies, my haters, and my detractors. Praise the years 13, 19, 27, 34, and 43, because I am all 5 of them right now. Praise that I am the son of 13,000 days. Praise the Converse on my feet. Praise the moments of joy that we experience and the tears that we hide. Praise the servants, not the service. Praise your path, your walk, your observation, and your introspection. Praise all the words in your life, because words are beautiful. Praise the drum, the bass, and the guitar. Praise the blood witches and their spells. Praise the beauty of reinvention. Praise the simplicity of your life. Praise our dedication to each other. Praise our willingness to be honest with each other. Praise our ability to be weak amongst ourselves. Praise our tenacity to work on our love. Praise your humility. Praise your vivaciousness. Praise Neruda, Lorca, Ginsberg, and Pietri. Praise the poems that shaped me. Praise the streets that raised me. Praise the people that taught me. Praise the graffiti on the walls. Praise the trains and the 5 boroughs of New York. Praise the places I never got caught stealing from. Thank you. Praise the people I've broken bread with. Praise your ability to hear, to see, to talk. Praise your ability to be humble. Praise your ability to be grateful. Praise your feet. Praise your eyes. Praise your hands. Praise your mouth. And praise your heart. Your beautiful heart. Praise this moment, because it is the most beautiful moment. Praise this moment, because this is the most beautiful moment. Praise today, for we are here together. Praise today for the stories we share. Praise today for the laughter we hear. Praise today because we are alive. And praise today for it's the most beautiful day. Thank you very much. Once again, thank you to the Brooklyn Public Library for having me do this. It's been an honor. I don't see anyone in my screen, but you know what? I'm gonna see all of you regardless. Thank you. Be safe in this time that we are living in, and be thankful. Thank you. Good night.